And it's not like there's a magic sauce when a guy's $5 million or $10 million less at a schematic level. Like, wow, this guy really wants it. You know what I mean? It's just not there.
Right,
It's hocus pocus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the proof comes out in the pudding. And I think really, what's the difference? If you put the cost of the work aside, don't get me wrong, you're going to be competitive in the cost of the work with the trades, which is 80% of the work. And then it's about your general conditions, which is tied to duration and your staff. You have the right staff there, managing quality, managing safety, all that type stuff. It's your soft costs, your insurance, if you have SDI or bonding, and your fee. And you should be looking at that. And we do staff our jobs a little bit more than your smaller GC, but you get what you pay for. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's not like we're putting a guy on there just because we want to put a guy on the job. He's managing the facade, or he's managing the amenity space, or whatever it might be, for better quality. I think that the mistake is they think they're getting this big win early on, which screws up their performer once they get up into the CD level, when the numbers really start to come true. That $5 million savings doesn't ever ring true when they get up to that GMP time. You know what I mean?
Like you said, one change order would be $500,000.
They're not even getting to the change order. The number went up through that process, $5 million bucks, and now they're at a GMP that would have been about the same where we were. So I think that's where we see a lot of folks just don't get it. You know what I mean? And they think they're getting some big win, and it's really not there. And for us, if we did that, they'd be looking at us. You know better. You know what I mean? You should have known that. You should have known that. Whatever, and would lose a business. Would lose a customer. You know what I mean? We'd rather lose the customer early on by doing the right thing than lose the customer 6 months from now once we get the CDs. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you come back around another time and win that customer.
I think that's sometimes what we've seen, and I'm sure you've seen it too, is just customers come back around and like, oh shit, I screwed up here. I should have went with you guys in the first place. And it ends up costing them more than it would have otherwise. But so I think that's a valid point. How do you guys, speaking of that, how do you think about going in when a potential client, especially in the case of like a new client, not a repeat client, comes to you and wants to price a job? How do you guys approach it to understand you're clear on what their objective and vision for the project is, and so that you're pricing it properly and effectively?
Yep. So we will always do a first estimate or two. It's on our dime, really, to create the relationship so they can see how we operate, how we put numbers together, all that good stuff. When it's schematic, they may be thinking one thing, we're thinking something else. We both have cabinets, right? But he may be thinking a $2,500 package, and I might be thinking $5,000. So I think once we get that preliminary estimate together, we will, and it's very detailed. We will show you all the holes we've filled that just aren't on the plans yet. You know what I mean? We'll typically go through that to make sure we're on the same page, because that's the other thing. As you go further down the process, and if we're not aligned, there's just problems that come out of that as well at the end of the day. So do we agree here? Do we agree there? Whatever. We tune up that estimate. We call that like a target GMP estimate. And then we track that. So as the plans progress and, the design changes, we just, hey, listen, you do what you want to do, but that's going to be $100 more grand for the project, or $10,000 a unit, whatever the thing is. And, they do it, don't do it, or maybe we take VE somewhere else to get something else back in line. So it's a real fluid process, but I think the most important thing is going through that early estimate and making sure it jives, because that's going to give them the test if it is the deal going to pencil at the end of the day. Yeah.
On a similar vein, I would say, how do you guys think about a realistic construction timeline, and how do you set that up and then execute it for success?
Good question. It's the same thing. When we bid something that it's very far along, it's hard to understand the process, the logistics, all the site exposure and all that stuff. That's why the earlier on process, we typically can make sure we have the right duration in there for building demo, abatement, utility disconnect, earth support, ground improvements, all those things that need to go in. And if you're bidding a job and you've got a month to do that, it's just impossible to figure all that stuff out, unless it's a slab on grade in a field, a building that's on virgin ground. But most of the deals nowadays, they're urban, you know what I mean, and they're in a tight location. So, we do our best to capture it all. And same thing, when we're competing against some folks that, will say that job took me 18 months in a similar unit count, and they don't look at the logistics side of it. And they say that's going to be 18 months, and then it's 24. You know what I mean? It's where you lose. Yeah. It's a big swing, no doubt. So it's time for all that, especially a complicated site. same thing. I can't emphasize it enough because there's a lot of things you need to do on a complicated site with local officials, all that stuff, what they're going to allow, what they're not going to allow. Yeah, I would encourage, bringing, especially a complicated site, bringing it in early.
And how much do the various local jurisdictions impact kind of timeline? And in certain cases, can they be is it a pretty tight swing relatively, or a pretty wide swing depending on where you're building?
I would be in the middle. Every town's different at the end of the day, and have different rules and all that types. And the order of conditions will kind of spell out what you can and can't do, and some of the work rules and all that stuff can be different. But I would say it's not like night and day. I would say there's a standard, but from that standard, there's kind of outrageous, and then there's some that this is a great town to work in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Interesting.